Welcome to Golf Smarter Mulligans, number 24. I'm Fred Green. Well, today's episode is kind of an oops from me because in our last episode, we heard from Dr. Joseph Parent on his latest book, Zen Putting, Mastering the Mental Game on the Greens. Actually, what you heard in the last episode was part 2 of our conversation, and what you're about to hear is part 1. My apologies for the confusion, but if you haven't heard last week's yet, or even if you have, then go ahead and listen all the way through today, and then go back in time and hear part 2 from last week, which was episode 23. I'm so confused. Hopefully you're with me and have figured this out. It's not as complicated as golf, but thankfully, it's a mulligan. And Mulligans is supported by twoguyswithgolfballs.com, one of my favorite sources for buying golf balls because there's no reason to buy new golf balls. There really isn't. You're going to lose them anyway, right? Don't buy new balls. Buy premium used golf balls from our good friends at twoguyswithgolfballs.com, offering premium used balls at a fraction of the cost of new ones. Most of the time, it's about half the price. And when you buy a new ball and play it once, well, think about that. That is now a used ball. So why not take something from somebody else who paid full price and then just pay half of it? This way you can get consistency instead of just trying to find balls in the woods or scoop them out of the pond. Don't do that because you don't know what you're getting. But you really do know what you're getting because you have choices when you go to twoguyswithgolfballs.com. And not only will you save some money, now you're going to save more money because every Golf Smarter listener and Golf Smarter Mulligans listener gets an additional 10% off of your order, no matter how big the order, no matter how often you make the order. So every order, every time gets an additional 10% off with a coupon code GolfSmarter. Twoguyswithgolfballs.com. Make sure it's twoguyswithgolfballs.com, and that discount offer expires on April 1, 2020. Mulligans is also brought to you by Autoslash.com. Autoslash.com is the coolest idea, and nobody knows about it, so you should take advantage of it. Autoslash.com is a booking service for when you're renting a car. Now, usually what you'll do when you rent a car is you'll go online, you'll find the car that you want, then you find the best price, you book it, and you're done until you go on your trip. And then you pick up the car. Well, you know that car rentals, the prices fluctuate daily. Who's got time to watch that? You've already made the booking. This is the idea of Autoslash. Once you've booked that car, you tell Autoslash.com in your favorite browser. It's not an app. Go to your browser, go to Autoslash.com, register yourself, put in all your coupon codes so they know what discounts you're available for. Make sure they also have your frequent flyer numbers. They'll know what discounts you're available for. And then every minute of every day, they're going to search every single car rental website and find lower prices for you. And the average user at Autoslash.com saves 30%, and it's completely free to use. Autoslash.com, AUTOSLASH, Autoslash.com. Welcome back, Dr. Joe.
How you doing, Fred? Great to talk to you again.
Oh, it's so good to have you back on the show. It has been one of the most popular shows, even our beginning program. It was the first of the Golf Smarter programs, and it is still one of the most popular. People go and download that and write to me all the time saying, I love that conversation.
That's the one we did about Zen Golf, right?
It was about Zen Golf, and that's why it's so exciting that you have a new book called Zen Putting.
Correct.
What is the process of writing a book like this?
Well, my books come out of my teaching. So it's not like I have a theory and an idea and then I write it all down. I collect notes from the lessons that I give and the stories that I tell. When I do my corporate speaking, I tell stories and do talks and talk about business and life, and I incorporate that along with golf. And when I do lessons with pros and amateurs, something always comes up, and I make notes of that. I collect them together and put them into a package that covers the material that golfers want to hear and makes a difference to their game. It's not ideas about golf, it's things that do work in improving your golf game. And in this case, particularly around putting.
Yeah, so why did you choose to go to putting on this one as opposed to Zen Golf Part 2?
Zen Golf Part 2 is coming up, and that's going to likely be a third book that goes back to the general approach. But I got so many requests for putting, so much interest in that, and there's been so much talk about it over the last couple of years as the game within the game, and that the guy who's putting the best is the guy who wins out on tour. And if you think about it, how much the mental game comes out in putting, because, not everybody has the technique to hit a 300-yard drive like Tiger, but almost anybody can swing a little putter back and forth and roll the ball 15 or 20 feet.
Oh, absolutely. I would think that putting is the great equalizer. I mean, no matter what your strength or your technical ability, with putting, anyone can compete with the best.
That's the idea. And that's why, if that's the case, then what differentiates great putters from everybody else?
Okay.
What differentiates great putters from everybody else is unconditional confidence, that they believe in themselves as being great putters. And people say, well, putters are born, not made, because it has to do with feel and confidence. I think that there are enough exercises and lessons in this book that anybody can use it to become a great putter.
And you have a tremendous amount. There's even an index of exercises in the back of the book that are phenomenal, and I'm going to want to go over a couple of those in this conversation.
Sounds great.
But in reading through this, I kept asking myself, is putting, the aspect of putting in golf, is that a sport? Is it a skill? Or is it an art?
Well, it's a combination. And it's a skill only in the sense that being able to make a repeating motion is a skill. It's a relatively simple repeating motion. It doesn't take a lot of training to be able to move the putter back and forth so that it impacts the ball going along the path in the same way. And there are a variety of ways that people teach that, but all of them pretty much have the putter face square to the path that they want the ball to travel on. Now, that means that if it's that simple a thing, then the quality of executing that and the sense of reading greens and the feel for the greens, for the pace of the putts, that's where the artistry starts coming into play.
Yeah, okay. It makes total sense. One of the things that you continue to bring up throughout the book is fear and doubt. Fear and doubt. Why is that an ongoing theme throughout Zen Putting?
Actually, there's a chapter called Hope and Fear.
Okay.
See, doubt is kind of a lesser expression of fear. You could say there's hope, there's doubt, which puts you right on the middle of hope and fear, and then there's fear. But it's the vibration between hope and fear, because wherever there's one, there's the shadow of the other. Wherever we have hope, if we have the hope of saving par with this 8-foot putt, we also have the fear of not saving par, of making a bogey. When we have the hope of birdieing a hole, there's also the fear of not. The hope of winning a tournament contains with it as a shadow the fear of losing. Sometimes the fear overwhelms the hope, and we get so much anxiety that we just want out. And we stop trying to have success and simply try to avoid and protect from making a mistake. And that's when we start heading down the road to disaster.
There's so much anxiety involved in this game.
Isn't it interesting? I mean,
it's supposed to be fun, right?
Case?
Yeah, exactly.
Why should there be so much anxiety? I mean, I thought we play golf to relax, don't we?
I would hope so.
Well, one of my favorite quotes is, and I think several prominent golfers have said it, and that is that you don't play golf to relax, you relax to play golf.
We've heard that multiple times on this program.
I think so. And it is in Zen Golf, and the idea there is the anxiety. Where does the anxiety come from? And I think that I present it, particularly in putting. I mean, what's more anxiety provoking than a 4-foot putt? There's one chapter where there's a guy a student of mine, who was in the Air Force and had to train in crash landings, and he said he'd crash land his plane anytime rather than have to face a downhill slider 4-footer for all the marbles on 18. I mean, come on, we're talking about life and limb versus, but what? As opposed to what? As opposed to our ego. It's our ego that gets the bruising, because we look at it and we say, this is something simple. If I can't do it, what's wrong with me? And that's where we get in our own way.
So give me some instruction. Help me get away from that.
Well, the interesting thing is we should take a look at how we get building up that anxiety. And the anxiety builds up from the fear of that moment when the ball misses the hole. Mm-hmm. That's the result. That is not you stroking the putt. That's how it turns out.
So that's out of your control.
Out of your control. Now, the interesting thing is when we get a 25-foot putt, very often we make a freer, smoother stroke. And that's because we don't have as high an expectation of holing it. We feel like, hey, I'd love to hole it. That would be icing on the cake. But at this distance, all I can expect is to roll a good putt and give it a chance.
I have actually found myself verbalizing, so everybody on the green can hear me. All I need to do is get it close when I have a 25-footer and more.
That's right.
All I have to do is get it close, and then I know, and then I get it close. I was like, see, I did it.
Right, but sometimes we joke, and have you ever had, in a playful match, your opponent, you have a 4-footer, and your opponent says, now get it close.
Oh, yeah.
As a joke.
Right, and then they laugh just like that.
What do you mean, get it close? Come on, I should be, you see, then they say, I should be able to hold this one.
Oh, the shoulds.
The should comes in, and there's a chapter in Zen Putting, stop shoulding all over yourself.
Hey, this is a family show.
SHOUD.
Okay, fine.
ING. Stop shoulding all over yourself.
I got should all over my shoes.
Now, what did you think I said? Fred, my goodness. Oh, my gosh. Anyway, so the whole idea is when we start to say should, that I should make this putt, there's always an interesting hidden sentence behind that. Or else I'll look like a fool. Or else I'll feel like a fool. You see? That's the extra or else sentence that isn't spoken. That's the shadow of fear that goes along with the hope of making that putt. And when the vibration between hope and fear, hope I'll make it, fear I won't, hope I'll make it, fear I won't, it makes us so uptight that we grip the putter tightly, jab at the ball, or half-heartedly wish it in, that little decelerating stroke that we're wishing it in and really just trying to avoid missing the putt. And all it does is produce, as we say in Zen Golf, you produce what you fear. And you miss the putt. Mm-hmm. So how do we get out of this? Well, the key, as you can tell, is to not get so much anxiety about the result. And to do that, we have to shift our attention to the process. Now, let me ask you a question, Fred.
Uh-oh.
Come on.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. What's the definition of making a putt? Imagine you hadn't read the book. What would you usually say? Putting
the ball in the hole.
That's correct. That's the usual definition. I'm not using that definition.
Oh.
The definition, that definition is holing a putt. The ball going in the hole, that's holing the putt. Making the putt is now about execution. So if you roll that ball put a good roll on it with a good stroke, on the path you intend, at the pace you intend, that's all you can do, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
You can read the putt the best you can, but there's no guarantee you've read it correctly.
As we have seen multiple times on television.
As we saw in the recent Masters. That you can read it the best you can, but once you've made your best guess, an educated guess at your read, then all you can do is put a good roll on it down that path at the best pace you can, and then you have made your putt. So if you put the stroke you intend on the path you intend at the pace you intend, 3 intentions completed, you made the putt. And it's about execution. Now, if you did that, then after that, all you can do is root for it. Now, there's a chapter in Zen Putting, how to make every putt. And that is, you make the putt in terms of execution. You don't necessarily hole every putt, but you can make every putt. And that's what I want you to base your confidence in putting on, your ability to execute. If your confidence is based on how many putts go in the hole, you're going to be disappointed. But if it's based on how well you execute the putt, you can be really good. I have a lot of tour players who shoot low scores. And most of them will come in and say, I left a bunch out there. Now, that doesn't build confidence in your putting. Because if you hit, even if you hit 18 greens in a row, in a round, hit every green, and you hole half your putts, you shoot 9 under par, guess what? You also missed half your putts. Do you want to think of yourself as missing, and those are the ones you might remember. So what I want you to do is focus on the ones you make as far as execution goes. And I had a pro who came in after round, and he put it just the way I wanted to. He said, Doc, I made 16 out of 18 of my first putts, and I holed 9 of them. And he shot 63.
Beautiful. Yeah, there really is a fine line you're walking there, isn't it?
But he feels confidence because he said, he heard himself say, I made 16 out of 18. That's got to make you feel good.
Oh, yeah, and it's got to have a significant impact on your round and your enjoyment. That's
right. And the more putts you make, the better you'll get at reading them, and then the more putts you'll hold.
Fabulous. Boy, you nailed it.
Leaves you a little speechless.
Yeah, you've nailed it. I mean, it's like I want to say, okay, well, thank you very much.
And I want you to be excited when you roll a putt. After, let's say you have a 15-footer. After it's rolled 2 feet, I want you to say, oh, that's the putt I wanted to roll. I made my putt. Now, let's see how it turns out.
And you also know, just when you stroke it, after the ball leaves the club face,
by the time it's rolled 2 feet, you know.
You really know how you feel about the putt, whether it goes in or not.
Exactly. Now, let's go to the next step in Zen putting, and it's a much deeper implication. You also know what your state of mind was based on what that felt like coming off. Because if it rolled just the way you wanted to, you know you had a great state of mind about that putt. You were focused. You were committed to your path. You had a good feel for the pace. And you trusted your stroke. Doesn't that sound pretty good?
It sounds awesome.
Well, that has to be there. That will be there when you hit one of those putts when you go, oh, that's the one I wanted. That's just what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
That means you executed what your intention was. Now, if you didn't, what if you didn't trust your stroke? Your grip tightens up and you get guidey with it as you go through. You know it immediately. What if you didn't trust the path? You push or pull your putt as you're hitting it. What if you're worried about how it's going to turn out? You look up before you even hit the putt and it throws it offline. All of those reveal to you your state of mind as you're putting. And they reveal to you whether you're confident or not, whether you trust yourself or not, whether you trust your stroke, whether you trust your read, whether you trust your feel.
So putting it's almost a repeatable, I mean, the way you're describing it, it's as repeatable as a good swing.
No, putting is as repeatable as taking a forkful of food and putting it in your mouth.
Sure, why not?
It's that repeatable. It's a less complicated action. I mean, it's moving the flat edge of a blade back and forth into a golf ball.
You're making it sound so damn simple.
Well, it is, and that's why there's a chapter in the book that's Every Putt's a Straight Putt. Basically, you want to get into the practice of moving that putter back and forth through that ball so that on impact, that putter face is square to where you aimed it. Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay?
It's just so simple. I'm sitting here going, how can I dispute what you're talking about? How can I create an alternative voice? But I just can't find it.
That is what you're trying to accomplish. Any kind of pushing or pulling to direct the putt adds inconsistency, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so that's the simplest thing. All you do is pick where you're going to aim it. Pick the path, and I like to use the word path rather than line. We can talk about that later if you want.
Okay.
But pick the path on which you want that putt to start. And you do that by seeing the whole track of the putt, as you know, as if it's rolling all the way down. You see it rolling out, and if it's going to break, then starting to take the break. And most of the break is usually near the end of the putt. Sometimes they flatten out, but however the putt is rolling, the slower it's going, the more gravity is going to affect it. It's like a roulette wheel, right?
Yeah.
The faster it's going, the less, that ball's rolling around the edge of the roulette wheel. Why doesn't it fall? Because the speed's keeping it going, pressing it against the outside of the wheel.
Centrifugal force?
That's right. And the faster a putt is going, the less gravity will affect it. But as it slows down, then it'll affect it more.
And that's what they mean by taking the break out of it.
If you putt, that's what it means. Putting it through the break,
right,
means it was going so fast that gravity couldn't affect it as it was approaching the hole. So it goes right through the break and misses on the high side.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to see your path, and the start of the putt is going to be straighter and less affected by the break than the end of the putt in general. Okay? Now, once you see that path to the hole, you look at the start of that path, and you set your putter face to that path, and now your only job is to get it started on that path. Once it's set, then you only look towards the hole or down your path and the full length of the path to get a sense of pace. How big a stroke you're going to make to send it on that path. Mm-hmm. So your only variable, once you've set up over that putt, is how big a stroke you make. You don't want to feel like you're hitting it softer or harder. You want to use the same tempo, the same grip pressure, the same speed through the ball. Well, it's not exactly the same speed through the ball. A bigger stroke's going to be going a little faster when it gets there, but the same amount of effort that you make through the ball. And you just change the size of the stroke.
So you don't want to swing harder on a longer putt. You don't want to, because you're going to end up pushing it.
And it's hard. It's challenging to do that because we get so used to making that little back swing and then pop through on the longer putts. But it actually works better if you keep more consistent in your tempo and your grip pressure. And that's why there's a chapter in Zen Putting called Swing Bigger, Not Harder.
Right.
And that's all you need to do. And surprisingly, you have more control over distance because your body has more control over how big a swing you make as opposed to how much exertion you put into a jabbing kind of stroke. How about that?
That's very good.
That's how we simplify it, and then putting becomes much more fun, by the way.
It should be the most fun because you get more chances to do that than anything else.
You know, the two things that golfers have fun doing is pounding drivers on the range and playing putt-putt.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
So those are the two most fun things to do off the golf course.
So I wanted to ask you, I don't know if I should be, talk about reading greens, but...
Oh, absolutely.
Well, one of the things you talk about in the book is it's not an instruction manual.
No, it isn't.
But
it's not an instruction manual in the sense that there's only one way to do things.
Okay.
It's not an instruction manual in the sense that it goes from beginning to end. It's a collection of topics all around putting. But you can go from chapter to chapter here and there and pick which apply to you. That's what I mean by it's not an instruction manual. But there's plenty of instruction in it and plenty of exercises.
Okay, so then there is a Zen way to read greens?
Yeah. One of the people who I learned a lot from is a guy named Craig Farnsworth, and he wrote a book, See It and Think It. He's an eye doctor. And he's talking about how you use your eyes on the green. So I learned a lot from him and incorporate a lot of what he does into my teaching. And Dave Peltz did a tremendous amount of research on putting, and I often quote one of his studies to get people to put a little less pressure on themselves. If he rolled 12-foot putts, he rolled putts down a ramp, and at the bottom of the ramp was a green, and 12 feet away was a hole, and he had it aimed so that pretty much all the time it went in the hole. Well, when he rolled 10 putts from exactly the same point on the ramp, only 7 of them went in. And this is on a country club, good quality green. So it's not a perfect surface, and even if we roll a great putt with 2 exactly the same putts in a row, one might go in and one might not. So we have to be less hard on ourselves when the putt misses, and that's why we have to focus on our execution.
Well, plus the fact that if you're hard on yourself on your putting, it's going to carry over into your next shot, your next tee.
Absolutely. Now, on reading greens, I have a chapter in Zen Putting called The Lay of the Land. And I loved when Jack Nicklaus said, I start reading greens from 50 yards away. And that means he's looking at the lay of the land, and you can start reading greens when you arrive at the course. You know how you do that?
Please tell me.
Walk into the pro shop, and you say to somebody who's played the course a lot, is there one predominant direction on this course that most of the greens break, or that's downhill? Like in Palm Springs, everything breaks towards Indio or the Salton Sea. And if you're at Torrey Pines, everything's going to break towards a particular little cove on the cliffs at the ocean, overlooking the ocean, because everything's going down towards the ocean.
Is it true that everything breaks towards the water?
In general, since water rarely gathers in high places, as it says, it seeks the lowest level. It's gravity.
Right.
And so if the water's gathered down below, then everything's going to be sloping down to it. A creek is not, you don't see a creek running along the top of a ridge. It's at the bottom of the valley.
Yeah.
So everything's going to break down towards that. Now,
I did ask an architect once about that, and he was saying, no, it's all about the drainage.
Yeah, it's about the drainage. Now, all of these that we're talking about are rules of thumb. And any architect can create a green that's banked against, so that he puts the high side of the green where the pond is and the low side where the hill is, and it looks, like an optical illusion. But these are rules of thumb in general. I mean, in general, most greens slope from back to front. Don't they?
Yeah.
Okay, that's in general. That doesn't mean they all do.
No, of course not.
But in general, they do.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see that as far as, and you look for a low place, and you look for the area of the green, and a lot of people read greens as if you poured water on them and it was not an absorbent surface, how would the water run off? Well, a golf ball is going to run off the same way that the water would run off.
Sure.
So you can see that. So I like to get below the hole and see how, if water were coming down the slope, how it would enter into the hole. And that's going to give me my through line, that the entry point, and if the hole were covered with glass, the exit point over the far side of the hole. And I look at that. We have that in the book as well. And for uphill putts, it's kind of reverse. If you were pouring water out of the hole, and you wanted it to get down to the ball, it's almost you switch and imagine that the hole is the ball and the ball is the hole.
That's a great visual.
Yeah. So the thing is, as you hit it uphill, it's going to be going fastest at the beginning part, so it'll be straighter at the bottom, and then more curve as it gets up towards the hole. So you just have to learn to reverse it that way.
Well, right, and if you do reverse it, it's going to have more speed when it gets farther down the hill anyway.
As it picks up speed. That's right. Imagine you were putting it to just trickle out of the hole, and then it starts to pick up speed and turns downhill.
Right.
It straightens out. Yeah, it's pretty much the same.
Well, this conversation has gotten by really fast, and I've not had an opportunity to ask you for any of the exercises that you have throughout the book. So if you can do me a favor, one, give me one quick exercise, and two, can you come back soon so we can go over it some more?
Yeah, absolutely. I will do both.
Awesome.
So let me pick one that I've been using recently that connects with reading the greens. Now, there's a chapter called Perpendicular Putts. And you should know that if your putt is on a line perpendicular to somebody else's and you watch them putt, well, if theirs curves towards you as it gets near the hole, guess what you have?
It's going to...
Uphill putt.
Uphill putt.
That's right, because it's curving towards you, you're down below the hole.
Right.
If it curves away from you, you have a downhill putt. If their ball slows down as it's getting to the hole, yours will break right to left. If it speeds up, yours will break left to right. So that on a perpendicular putt coming from your left. Now, why limit it to learning from perpendicular putts? So here's the drill I want you to do. Place a dozen balls about 6 feet away from a hole, 3 feet apart around in a circle. Okay? Mm-hmm. And you can do it with less balls and just place them there as you go. But putt one, a slightly sloping hole on the practice green. Putt one and watch the break. Then move 3 feet to one side and guess how the break will be affected by this slightly different angle. Putt that one. Then move 3 feet further. Now how will it be affected? It'll if you've been moving to the higher side, it'll break less and it'll be faster going down the hill. Then move to the next one. When does the break start going in the other direction? And you move all the way around. And you see how many of those you can hole one time around. Then do it again going in the other direction or at a different hole. And what will happen is you'll start to get better and better at reading the green based on what you saw happen to the other putts. Then when you go out on the course, you'll be able to learn from everybody else's putt. And you'll be able to read this special technique that I have. After you've set up for your, on a anywhere from 6 to 12 or 12-foot putt, after you've picked out your read, take a step to the right and imagine what would it do if it was coming from here. Then go back behind the ball, take a step to the left, what would it do from coming over here? And you've sort of triangulated your read, and it'll be just between the two, and it'll give you confidence, more confidence in your read. It'll make you more certain that you've got the best read. And that'll let you commit to that path more and make a better stroke.
Oh, huge. Dr. Joe Parent, author of the best-selling book Zen Golf and his new book, Zen Putting. And we're going to have you back real soon, and we'll start off talking about confidence. That's great. And please have a look at my website, zengolf.com, and you can find out more about Zen Putting, Mastering the Mental Game on the Greens, at bookstores, online, and golf shops everywhere.